I know you were listening. We were talking about Jessica Simpson. There were reports that, she's expecting her second child. If it's true, this makes her two kids about 13 months apart. Do you think that's too soon to have a second baby?
Yeah, whenever it happens, I just hope it's not like somebody took a picture of her and she'd had a little, because it's just been Thanksgiving and she'd had an extra portion of stuffing and there's a tiny, you know how they take like an olive? Yeah.
Oh, baby.
Kate Middleton, there's every magazine, there's like a tiny little bump, and they say she's pregnant. I hope there's not something like that.
Right, she just has like a pizza.
Yeah.
You've been busy this month, yeah.
Yes.
And your parents are visiting from England.
Yes, my parents came in for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
lovely.
What have you guys been up to?
Oh, look, there they are. Well, my mum and I did all the cooking together, made the turkey. We had 30 people over.
Wow. That's a good size.
Yeah, my dad was the sous chef. He just chops things and we tell him he's doing it wrong. And, it was fantastic. And then she likes to do her Christmas shopping here before she goes back to England. She loves malls.
They don't have them there, right?
We do have malls, but they live in a tiny little village in England, Muffin on Poot. No, not really. It's a little village called Whittingham, so they're sort of isolated from big shopping malls. So she loves it. Yeah, it's really fun. It's great.
This is actually a really special time for your family because your husband, Marshall, and you met at a company Christmas party.
Yes.
And then you got married exactly 1 year after that, which is such a sweet story. How did you know he was the one so quickly?
Oh, he just came walking towards me. Well, first of all, this guy came up to me.
And you're geologists now?
No. Okay. No, we studied geology a long time ago.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. We could have told you what every one of those was 50 years ago. We can't tell you now.
So you must be beautiful in the 4 different seasons.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my favorite because it's so delicate.
Yeah.
It's so short-lived. Fall is spectacular.
Yeah.
Reds and oranges. It did flood the last.
Oh, they're right there. Yeah.
Way down there.
Yeah.
The creek's on the other side, and the creek's way down the hill.
Really?
Yeah. But when the waters rise, they really rise.
But coming over, there's still flood in the street. So this is higher than the
Yeah, this
street
is
level?
actually pretty high.
Yeah.
And this is on a lot of sandstone, so they've been hit by lightning a few times.
Oh no! Oh, they attract lightning. The sandstone.
It seems
Really?
to be an issue that we've recently discovered. Yeah.
And you don't collect rainwater or
Yeah, we
anything?
do.
You
We
do?
have rain barrels, yeah. I live in town. I come out here to help them with the animals in the afternoon. And then we have several gardens and we collect rainwater.
Okay.
Yeah.
For watering?
Like that one back there.
Right here. Okay.
That I was using for the pumpkin patch.
Oh, yeah. Pumpkin at the back. Okay.
Uy, tendo yung alpacas.
What's that?
Umiyak. Don't cry.
When we bought the farm, it was a dairy operation.
Uh-huh.
We used to be able to support one family, that's 100 acres, and they had about 30 cows, dairy cows. But all of that got much bigger, and so you can't be profitable on that scale. There's a little bit of market opportunity in raising animals that you don't feed GMO corn to, and you don't use pesticides and herbicides on your fields. And people will pay for those a little extra because they're fearful that those chemicals might hurt them over time if they're in their diet. Our government claims there's no problem, that the levels are low enough, but not everybody believes that. So there's a market for organics, and so small farms are coming back somewhat. The fellow who rents this ground on this farm one man with his equipment can do 1,200 acres a year of corn and beans. He's got to hire one truck driver in fall to help with the harvest. But otherwise, he's just, when they're putting the crop in, it takes them about a month to do it, if that long. They sit on the tractor 16 hours a day. I've done a little, Sonia and I have done a little bit of that. It's the most boring work. So they've got music in there, they've got air conditioning in there, they've got heaters in there. So it's like, I don't know, more like driving a plane, I guess.
Is it easy to get non-GMO seeds?
No, it's very hard because the pollen gets airborne and it contaminates the neighboring farms. So you really have to be fairly isolated in order to be successful doing that.
Will Monsanto claim them to be theirs once they're contaminated?
That's another problem. Yeah, if that Monsanto pollen fertilizes your corn, Monsanto says you owe them money for the patent on that kind of corn, even though you didn't intend to raise it. And that's a big controversy. So with the dairy operation, we got out of the dairy operation. We stayed for 2 years in it. For a while we raised beef, and then we tried a bull, and he kept breaking out. So we decided with teaching at the university, and when the kids left to lead their lives, we didn't have any labor around the place, so we quit with the beef operation.
For a little bit too.
Yeah.
The chickens work well.
You have to pay a lot of attention to the bigger lamb when they're born. In our teaching schedule, we're always going to other communities, and it didn't work out very well. I'm going to take you over this way now, and we're going to switch topics more to the renewable.
What, everyone?
I feel good.
I'm back! I'm back! Get up off of that thing and dance to you better. Get up off of that thing and dance to you. Sing it now!
Hey everybody, this is 22 Tiger Dude, and I'm here to review the James Brown biopic film, Get On Up. So, Get On Up is directed by Tate Taylor, the director of The Help, which is a good movie, starring Chadwick Boseman, Nelson Ellis, Viola Davis, Craig Robinson, Dan Aykroyd, and Octavia Spencer. So, this is the story of James Brown's life. You just see the life of him as a child, and when he's popular as the iconic James Brown. So Get On Up is a film I was really excited to see. I am a huge James Brown fan. His music is just so awesome, so soulful. He had the voice, he had the talent, he had the groove. This man, he was definitely talented, and I wanted to see the film. So in my opinion, Get On Up is a good movie. I just have to start off with Chadwick Boseman as James Brown. Wow. This guy presents James Brown so well. He sounds like James Brown. He moves like James Brown. If he really is singing just like James Brown, holy crap, credit to Chadwick Boseman. He had the energy. He sounded like James Brown. The makeup on him, especially when James Brown is older, he looks really good. Chadwick Boseman just impressed me on every level. He really is becoming one of those new coming stars. I mean, he was impressive in 42. So far, that is my favorite film from Chadwick Boseman. And his role wasn't too huge, but he was really good in Draft Day. And now we have this film where I gotta say, it's just plain awesome. Chadwick Boseman is definitely going somewhere in his career. With 42 Draft Day and now Get On Up, he's already proved to me that he's going to be one of the best actors coming in this generation. We have other talents here like Craig Robinson. Not in this film here too much, but he was really good for the part that he had. And it was something a little different because we're so used to Craig Robinson just being really jokey, but in this film, he's actually quite serious. Nelson Ellis, he plays James Brown's friend that stuck around for most of his life, and he did a really good job in the role. Then you have Viola Davis as James Brown's mother, and she did a good job for the part she had, and Octavia Spencer as the aunt. Just a very well done job. And of course, Dan Aykroyd. I really enjoyed his role, and it's actually one of the best I've seen from Dan Aykroyd in quite some time. Cinematography for the film looks really good, and the timelines for the film look like how the timelines are supposed to be. This film is quite unique in terms of like its editing, because at one point you're going to be in the 1960s, then you're going to be in the 1930s, the 1950s, back to 1930s to 1960s. Yes, it goes so out of order with the timeline, and that could really distract some people, but for the most part, I did dig that editing style. And of course, listening to James Brown's music on the big screen is such a joy to listen to. There's classic songs like I Feel Good or Get Up Off of That Thing. It's just so great to listen to all of these classic James Brown music. It's the same with what the movie Jersey Boys did, where I'm like dancing around to the music, so good job to the film on that part. Seeing the life of James Brown, seeing where he's coming from with his childhood, you could understand why he's made all these mistakes in his adult life because of how harsh his childhood life is. It's well directed, credit to the writers that brought this true story to life. I could tell there was a lot of makeup, and credit to those people with the makeup and the costume designs. Those look fantastic as well. It really is such a well-made film.
Interesting. I actually was talking about this with friends. I mean, there's so much going on here. The first thing is this woman was trying to be complimentary. The article does go on to say how successful Shonda is and how, the women are strong and multi-layered, blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately, even if it's unintentional racism, it's still racism. And I think her biggest mistake was not taking that article to, there's got to be at least one black person at the New York Times she could have run this by and said, like, is this coming across the way I intended? Because, I don't...
Is that your white person accent?
No, that's not particular person. Because, that kind of unintentional racism, it's rampant, and to call someone an angry black woman when that's so far from who Shonda is, that's so far from the character she creates. The lead on Grey's Anatomy that she created was a white woman. The lead on Private Practice was a white woman. She writes women generally incredibly strong, no matter their ethnic background.
That's right.
And I have had this in my own career so many times where people will say, like, I was up for a movie where the role was written black, and then they were like, well, they're not going to put a black person in that role now because they put Morgan Freeman in the movie, and that's enough black people for the film. I mean, it happens all the time that, like, well, you're black, but you're not black. And I think you have to think about what you're saying when you say it, because saying to somebody, if I had to date a black girl, Aisha, it would be you, is not a compliment. It's not a compliment. No matter what you're saying, that has been said to me so many times. I'm like, thank you? Who's forcing you to date black people? Is that a thing?
Did you want to weigh in here, honorary black person?
I was just like personally offended for Viola Davis because I find her no less beautiful than Kerry Washington. Now, Halle Berry is more beautiful than anyone on this planet, any race. Like, that's not a good comparison for anybody. But Viola Davis, she's gorgeous. And I just think, she should have been more careful. I understand the same thing. She's trying to make these points and make Shonda look good, but it's a bunch of backhanded compliments.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say quickly what bothered me about it was you listed all these women and all these characters and all these people, and it sounds like you want us to all be mad because either I'm not you or I'm not enough me for whoever. Why didn't she just say that Shonda Rhimes is not an angry black woman, but she's passionate, she's prolific, and she's powerful as the executive producer that's creating great characters? Not as an angry black woman, because I'm wearing my fabulous hair today, but I'm going to speak as an American. America is proving that it can handle beauty in all shapes and forms, and it means Viola Davis.
Can I just also say, race aside, the idea that strong men are powerful and strong women are angry is just a basic sexist idea.
You got to be black.
But I'm saying even not black.
You got to be black and angry, Aisha.
That's not who we are.
No.
That's not who Shonda is. That's not an accurate depiction of anything about her personality or perspective.
It's because they're threatened by us.
There you go.